This is Garis, masculist, MGTOW flyers. That is 2-3 page essays on the themes of masculism and MGTOW, written by and read aloud by Prof. Dr. Hugo de Garis. This is flyer number 514, entitled A Very Abrupt End to an E-Dating Relationship. Description. This flyer describes a melodramatic event that happened to me when my recent e-dating girlfriend found out that I'm a masculist. It also speculates on how millions of women are going to react when there are millions of similar confrontations in the coming decade. The flyer itself. A very abrupt end to an e-dating relationship by Prof. Dr. Hugo de Garis. Email profhugodegaris@yahoo.com. Website profhugodegaris.wordpress.com. Something quite dramatic happened to me a few hours ago, so I'm writing this flyer while these events are still fresh in my mind, since I think recounting them may be instructive to the manosphere and will paint a picture of what the liberation of men will be confronted with in the next few years as their message really starts penetrating the masses. I need to give a bit of background so that these events can be placed in context. For the past 2 years or so, I had an e-dating relationship with a woman with whom I latted, in brackets, lat, L-A-T, equals, living apart together. She had a nice house with a garden and I had my bachelor apartment. That relationship was always a bit fragile since she never liked my masculism, which pissed me off for its hypocrisy. That is her feminism okay, masculism not okay. After sending her an email in which I described my real anger at being cut off by the chairwoman of a feminist meeting on how to better encourage young women to pursue STEM field educations, when I told the chairwoman that I was a masculist, then my then girlfriend tells me the relationship is over. For the past month or so, I've been meeting another woman whom I met online, a double PhD, quite wealthy, emotionally warm and sexy, with whom I thought I got on very well, and vice versa. She spent the morning talking to her older son about me, and then drove to her daughter's to do the same. I heard her car arrive back mid-afternoon, together with her younger son, whom I'd met for the first time the night before, then her older son, whom I'd never seen before, then her. The older son, mid-40s, was 6 feet tall and built like a gorilla, who looked at me with bulging eyes and told me to leave immediately, since I was in her house. Then the mother, my soon-to-be ex-e-date, said, quote, "What you wrote was extremely insulting to women. The relationship is ended. Don't contact me any further." End quote. She'd obviously brought her gorilla son to get me out fast, which is what I did, since I didn't want to have my face disfigured for life by a male feminist son. I packed up my computer stuff that I had transported to her regularly over the past month and left. So, what happened? Why the very abrupt and melodramatic end? I assumed that one of the family looked at my website, since she knew my family name. The relationship had obviously progressed to that point, so my masculist essays, which are open to the public, are for anyone to see. I'm guessing whoever that family member was immediately told the others, and a throw-out party was quickly arranged. So what happened at a deeper level? Why was the now ex-girlfriend so shocked? And even more interestingly, why was the gorilla son even more shocked? His eyes were truly popping, He looked very threatened and intimidating at the same time. He calmed a bit when he saw that there would be no physical opposition on my part. I do have some common sense. On walking back home to my apartment, I was thinking about the longer-term implications of such a gender-political confrontation and how that one incident will probably scale up to millions in the near future as millions of masculistic men really start pushing their gender-political views onto the general public as well as into their personal relationships. My immediate feeling is one of disgust, of bigotry. This is now the second woman whom I definitely liked, for whom I felt a genuine affection, who has freaked out at my masculist anger and hatred at what women are doing to men, particularly in the divorce courts and in the media. I assume this most recent woman holds the view that it's okay for women, for feminists, to lash out at men for the ways that men oppress women, labelling such men as pigs, rapists, toxic, and the like. But it's not okay for masculists to lash out at women for the ways that women oppress men, in brackets, and in fact worse than vice versa, since many of women's gender crimes against men last decades, making them far more serious than the relatively minor ways that men oppress women. Masculists see even rape as rather small beer in comparison to women's decades-lasting man-slavery. I suppose it did not occur to this woman that men have every right to hate fluffies, since to masculists, fluffies are manslavers, hence slavers, hence hated, hence need to be exterminated by being totally ignored and left to rot on the shelf, thus wiping out fluffies and hence fluffydom, that is, manslavery. I'm wondering what I should do from now on as a masculist and as an e-dater. As an e-dater, I think I'll do a more formal masculist test, which will take the following form. Once an e-dating friendship has started, emails are exchanged and the initial filtering has taken place. For example, does she have a PhD or a master's? Is she FIP, that's financially independent person, etc.? Then I will attach a masculist essay that spells out clearly the major beliefs of the masculist and say to these prospective e-dates that in the past some women have been quite hypocritically sexist when it comes to their rejection of masculism while adhering to feminism, and suggest further that if the prospective e-date has similar attitudes to my previous two e-dates, then all she need do is not reply, and I will move on to the next, until I find one who is female masculist and who accepts the idea that, quote, quoting myself, I expect a woman to be a female masculist for the same kind of reason that she would expect me to be a male feminist, that is, on humanitarian grounds. Of course, women should be given equal rights and opportunities, but so should men. Therefore, the divorce courts need to be made men fair. The paternity rejection right needs to be legislated. Paternity fraud needs to be criminalised. Gender equality committees need to be set up in the parliaments so that they deal equally with the gender issues of both sexes, etc. These masculist reasons seem totally reasonable to me, and I expect any woman I had a serious relationship with to see them also as totally reasonable. But I'm wondering, if the level of monoconscious brainwashing of feminists, of women, is so severe that millions of them are going to freak out when they discover their e-date is a masculist, then I predict that there's going to be a lot of tears amongst women, when in practice they find that more and more men, especially the smarter men, who are the first to go masculist due to their superior intelligence, who are quicker to pick up the new masculist ideas, and learn to their cost that nearly all the quality men they come across have been masculisted and do not tolerate monoconscious feminazi bigotry and refuse to have relationships with such women. When nearly all quality men are masculist, that will profoundly change the gender political ecology. Women will be forced, capital letters, to adapt to the growing and hateful masculist mentality. Masculists will harangue these women saying, quote, "Of course we hate fluffies. Fluffies are manslavers. They are vermin to be wiped out, since manslavery is a war issue. Masculists see manslavery as a far bigger problem than was Negro slavery in the 1800s in the US, which eventually led to the US Civil War." This is the end of part 1.